Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good. So my name is Darlie Ginrich. I am one of the supervisors over our customer service contact area. There are a couple other supervisors in that area as well. I happen to have been with the department since our commissioner stated our lovely processing system came up a few years ago, a couple decades ago. So I've been around for a while. I know we do the individual income tax. We also do business tax in my area. When you call in, you are probably talking to one of my folks, or you might get lucky if we're super busy and actually speak with me. So today we're going to talk about in-tax and our BT1 processing form for business tax. The exciting world of in-tax. Is everybody familiar with in-tax? Everybody uses in-tax to file their returns. And the first thing I want to talk about is registering a business. Uh-oh, this is not changing. Hold on here. I might need some help. Help. What am I doing wrong here?
No, we have this problem. If that helps. There we go. Now try there you go.
Yay. All right. I can answer complicated tax questions, but when it comes to technology, not so much. So our agenda, we're going to talk about registering business, overview of tax types, in-tax, filing and paying, additional resources, and things of this nature. Registering a business. Most of our businesses are registered through INBIZ, but governmental agencies have to register paper BT1. So basically, when a business goes to register or creates, then they need to make sure that they don't need a IRS EIN number. You may or may not. If you don't have any employees, then you're really not required to have one unless you are a corporation or partnership. So what you do with Indiana is we do require that you register for sales and withholding or any of those other little tax types that go along with the sales tax. And how you do that is you fill out a BT1, business tax application. Businesses have to register if they sell products, if they have employees, if they sell food or beverage, if hotels have to register, gasoline distributors, gas stations, things of this nature. Folks who sell tangible property. If you sell, if you breed and sell Chihuahuas, guess what? You have to register because that's tangible property and you have to collect tax on those Chihuahuas when you sell them. So you would actually contact the department and actually you would go on our website, download the BT1, which is the business tax application, complete that, and send it in to the department so we can get that registered. As I said, we do collaborate with the Secretary of State. The majority of our businesses do register via INBIZ, which is on the Secretary of State's website. However, for reasons unknown to me, but we're going to fix this, government entities must file a paper application. Now, the good thing about that is we don't get a whole lot of paper applications anymore, so we do get those BT1s processed rather quickly. There is a $25 registration fee for each location when a regular business is getting set up as well. And then we do issue a TID when you have to send in a paper application, it's not within 24 to 48 hours. When a business goes through INBIZ, through the Secretary of State's website, absolutely, it is 24 to 48 hours. Government entities filing the paper application, you're probably it's about a 7 to 10 day turnaround time. So, overview of our tax types. Withholding tax. Withholding is what it is. If you have an employee, of course, you have to register for withholding and withhold state and now county, all counties within Indiana. Lake County jumped on board, I think in 14 or 15, all 92 counties in Indiana now has a county tax rate. So the registration is through the BT1. You fill out the WH1 to remit and report the taxes each month or year, and then you fill out the WH3 to reconcile and send us the W2s. And then the WH4 is the form that you have the employee fill out, comparable to the federal W4, but that WH4 lets you know what county that employee lived in on January 1st, because we know lock-in date for county tax, January 1st. The website is that you file on is InTax, which I'm going to talk about. It's a pretty good website. We do update it as we can, and with your suggestions as well. So if there's ever anything on the InTax website, please let us know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Our state rate was 3.3% up until January 1 of 2017. It did decrease the first time in my employment history, which is a few decades with the department, that I've ever seen our state tax rate decrease, usually increases. So that was I personally was happy for that. Sales tax. Our sales tax rate is 7%. It's been 7% for a few years. When I started with the department, I think it was 5%. So it hasn't increased much over the years, but it has increased. 7%. Anytime you go to buy tangible property within the state of Indiana, you are going to pay a 7% sales tax. There's also the other little baby taxes, I call them, that go along when you go out to a restaurant, when you rent a hotel, when you rent a motor vehicle. There's additional taxes, but you're always going to pay that 7% when you go and buy tangible items within the state. Just like when you go on a trip to Florida, you're paying that 11% Florida tax. When you come to Indiana, you're going to pay the Indiana tax. If you're a resident of Indiana, you're going to pay that Indiana 7% sales tax. So there are exemptions for items that are tangible. When you go to the grocery store and buy your groceries, you're not going to pay sales tax on the meat, the vegetables. When you buy the pop, though, you're going to pay sales tax on your pop. Casual sales like garage sales, no, we're not going to make everybody register to collect 7% when they have a garage sale. That's a casual sale. Same thing when you sell your vehicle to somebody else. You aren't required to collect the tax. They will collect the tax at the BMV for that sale. Stamps, labor charges, when you go and have somebody cut your grass, that's not taxable. It's just there's no materials changing hands. That's just a labor cost. Items purchased for resale. So anybody who's purchasing items for resale should already be registered, and they're going to give the exemption certificate to the buyer or to the person they're purchasing from. They're going to turn around when they sell it to you and I. They're going to collect sales tax. Newspapers, lottery tickets. We won't ever be taxed on lottery tickets for sales tax, and gift cards. There are quite a few other exemptions. There is wonderful sales tax bulletins out on our website and our tax library that have a variety of subjects. So if you have any questions, you can utilize those. You can also call my crew, and we should be able to point you in the right direction on that as well. The ST 105 is the exemption form that is used to buy items tax exempt. Public transportation providers are probably one of our biggest entities because they do not have to pay tax on their fuel, on their truck, or anything that goes on or in that truck, as long as they are considered public transportation hauling for hire. So all the school buses that you see on the road, everything on or in that bus, tax exempt. Not-for-profit entities, of course, they are exempt. However, not-for-profit organizations are a little different. They do have 30 days per calendar year to conduct sales without having to collect tax. On that 31st day, whatever they're selling becomes taxable. So they do have to collect sales tax. So the little concession stands at the ballpark, if we know they're going to conduct sales for over 30 days per calendar year, they got to collect tax from the get-go. But most of the not-for-profit organizations, they are exempt on pretty much everything they do, as long as it's for the betterment of that organization. The difference is food and hotel accommodations, they're not exempt on. Now, the meeting room, like this room, absolutely. But the not-for-profit organization eating and sleeping is not really for the betterment of the organization, only for that person. Federal and Indiana government agencies, of course, I'm sure you all are aware that they are exempt from Indiana sales tax. So sales tax needs to be separately stated on the invoice that you receive or the receipt that you receive, and it needs to be paid to the department either on a monthly or an annual basis. We don't have a quarterly filing anymore. I think we did away with that maybe 2012 or 13. So tax needs to be collected. Tax collection must be shown on the individual sales receipt, like I stated, and complete sales and collection records need to be maintained by the company that is doing the selling, and collection allowance is based on tax liability. So the incentive for filing and paying, especially your sales tax in a timely manner, is a collection allowance. The more you collect, the less your collection allowance is. And as long as you file in a timely manner, you get a collection allowance unless you're a utility company. Utility companies do not get the collection allowance. 7% on property used, consumed, or stored in Indiana. And examples of the property is online purchases, purchased in another state with no sales tax, and withdrawn from inventory for personal use. So basically, when you purchase something online, if they don't charge you sales tax, there's a handy little line on our form that our individual IT-40 and PNR that rarely gets used, but it's how you self-assess use tax. When you purchase items in another state and they do not charge you sales tax, then you're supposed to use that nice little line on our form and self-assess as well. And if you are a business and you withdraw inventory for your own personal use, that business needs to assess use tax on their sales tax return. Filing and paying taxes. We do get quite a few accountants and CPAs that do call in for their clients. We try to help them the best we can. However, if they are wanting specific information like amounts paid, past payments, we have to have a power of attorney. We can verify items, but we can't come right out and say, yes, Sue, you're not on the account, but Joe's car lot paid $1,000 in sales tax last year or last month. It either needs to be Joe or a power of attorney. Our power of attorney form is online. There are two different options on the power of attorney. You can either check specific years and tax types, but there is this handy box on there that you can check and gives you permission to speak for 5 years on the tax type listed. That is my preferred method for everybody. So if you're filling out a POA or advising anybody to fill out a power of attorney form, please remind them of that check mark box on the power of attorney that allows them to speak on their client's behalf for 5 years on the tax type that's listed. And the website's right there. It's pretty easy to find, but on our website there is a search bar, plug in POA, or really when you're on our website, anything that you're looking for, if you put in that search bar, you should be able to find it. Our forms, we have a lot of them, so it's kind of daunting to try to find a specific form sometimes. Just plug in that form type and it should take you right to the link to get to that form. So we need to file a return for each tax type that somebody is registered for. Even if you don't owe tax, you still have to file a return. Zero returns are okay. Filing frequency is based on tax liability. We do change filing frequencies every year. You will get a letter stating if your filing frequency has went from monthly to annual or annual to monthly. Once again, that's the only two that's the only two filing statuses that we have. And once again, I can't stress this enough. A return for every period must be filed even when no tax is due. And if a return is not filed, the department will send the dreaded estimated bill, the BIA bill, best information available. We do send out some reminders every month to the email address that we have. We do send reminders to file. So everybody is getting better at filing their returns. If a business is closed, we need to get a BC 100 and get that business closed. Or what will happen? The return isn't filed, the department sends an estimated bill. We don't like estimated bills. We do have in-tax. We're getting ready to talk about in-tax, and that is our preferred method to file. It's statutory, everybody. It should be filing via in-tax, which is our electronic filing system. The tax types that are supported by in-tax are sales, withholding, out-of-state sales, prepaid sales, metered pump, the tire fee, fuel taxes, wireless prepaid, the gaming fee, food and beverage, county innkeeper's tax. So when you register and get a taxpayer identification number from the Department of Revenue, the retail merchant certificate will give you the website and also an activation code. If you're registering only for withholding, the information we send to you that verifies registration will have information on it to register for in-tax. In-tax is just like any other system. You're not gonna do anything wrong. You can't break anything in there. You can't do anything in there that we can't fix. If you accidentally file for a wrong period, very easy to fix on our end. In-tax is just like anything else that you use a lot. Get familiar with it. Pretend like it's your friend. Go play with it. Go hang out with it. Go read what's on there. There are many screens on in-tax, So you need to be familiar with the screens and how to get to the places where you can look at what you filed. You can actually file. You can see what maybe you haven't filed. It's a pretty user-friendly system. We've tried to make it as user-friendly as we can, but it is always, as I stated, open for improvement. So if there's anything out there that you think needs to be improved, please let us know. So this is just basically saying what I just said. And I don't think a lot of people realize that on the retail merchant certificate, your activation code is already there. It's the bottom portion. A lot of people rip off that top portion, put it in their frame in their business. I don't know whatever happens to the bottom portion, but we need that bottom portion for the activation code. So once you register, or once you have all of your information and you're ready to register through InTax, first you're going to go in through the InTax website. Now, in the department's infinite wisdom, we have intax.in.gov. We also have intaxpay.in.gov. InTaxPay is to pay liability. InTax is to pay trust tax. So you're just going to go in, you're going to click on register, you're going to go through some very simple questions, and then you are going to actually create your username. Remember that InTax is email based. Whatever email address you use to create your InTax account is the email address that your InTax account is going to be maintained under. If you create a username and password and you happen to forget it down the line, there's a handy button or a handy option to click on that says forgot username or password. We will send you your username and we will reset your password. However, it's going to get sent to whatever email address you use to set that account up. So that is very important that you remember which email account that you use to set that up. So you will process your returns. In order to get everything verified and your activation code, if you don't already have it and you don't see it on your retail merchant certificate or you're registering for withholding, there are a few things that you have to know. You have to know if you've already filed in the past, it's a current business and you're just now registering for InTax, you need to know a previous tax amount. You can use a previous payment amount. You can use the handy InTax activation code, which is the preferred method, or you can register to get the code sent to you via United States Postal Service. What you can do when you register a business for sales tax, you have to pay a $25 registration fee. That is the amount that you can use always for new business or existing business to get your activation code, to get everything registered. So these are just the screens showing you that you have to also do the nice disclaimer. Yes, I agree that everything I just said was true, was a true statement. Just like when you sign your tax return, you agree that everything you just put on there is true to the best of your knowledge. So, hey, your registration is complete. You're almost done. So you will actually get emails. The first email confirms that your InTax registration is successful. And these emails come out pretty quick, within just, it says allow 24 hours, but normally you have an email within minutes. The only time it may take 24 hours is if we have an issue with our antiquated RPS system, which we don't normally. The second email will contain a temporary password for your account. remember that your username and your password is case sensitive. The activation code isn't, but username and password is case sensitive. What I suggest on those temporary passwords, anybody who's ever retrieved a temporary password, you know it's a bunch of numbers and characters and letters. Copy and paste that right into the field instead of trying to type that in. So then that seems to be easier than trying to type a code that's that long in correctly. If you requested a new or replacement access code or have 2 or more failed registration attempts, the department will mail you an access code. That's the only option. We have to mail that access code if you actually go in and try to register twice and you fail. So, filing and paying using NTAX. NTAX is, as I said, a decently friendly application. When you go in, you're going to click on log in, you're going to put your username, you're going to put your password, you're going to hit next, and it's going to log you in to NTAX. The first screen you come to is going to be your business account information. So this is just talking about different resources. I think everybody has a packet that has this information in it. If you ever need to contact us about NTAX, you also have that phone number in your resource material as well. So if you are familiar with NTAX, there is a bar on the left-hand side that has different options. And a lot of those, you'll actually see lists of businesses. If you have more than one entity registered, you'll be able to see what you've paid, payment history, filing history. You'll be able to see what account that you're paying out of. You will be able to send messages via NTAX if you accidentally filed January and it should be for February, or if you really only owed $100 but you sent $200. There is a tab in NTAX. It's simply called messages. We like messages. That's the easiest way that we can maintain your account. And then, of course, when you're done with NTAX, make sure you log out of it, because if you do not, somebody can come in there, your bank account information or credit card information readily available to whoever is in your NTAX account. That is why the Department of Revenue can't see your NTAX account. We see our RPS system when you file and pay. That is what we see. We don't have access to your personal NTAX account, and I don't want to have access to it. So this is just a list of a few things that you can click on to see. The most important thing, or the thing that is used the most in NTAX, is file. I mean, what do you do? Why are you even in NTAX? Well, you're in there to file. You have to file every period that you're required to file for, even if you don't owe any money. So you will file the return, which is up at the top, and then there's just some other information on there. You can see at the top there's some FAQs and all of that. So like I say, get in there, get familiar with NTAX so you know what you're doing when you're filing. Especially our annual filers, they struggle a lot, because if I haven't looked at something for a year, I'm going to struggle as well. So when you file a return, when you are going in to file and pay your sales withholding or whatever through NTAX, the most important thing is to always file first. The system will let you pay first, but it flows better if you file first, because how many times have I talked to customers, well, I already did this, Darlie. Well, yes, ma'am, you paid, but you didn't file. That's why you have that estimated bill in your hand, even though you've already paid the tax due. So it's easier, I always advise folks, file first. It prompts you to pay, but as that way you're not being interrupted in the middle of something, hey, I paid it, I'm gonna come back to it and file it. So make sure that you're hitting the file button first. When you're on that business detail screen, all of your information is just an overview of your information. If you go all the way to the right-hand side, you have two options, file and pay. Click that file button, file the return. If you owe, you'll be prompted to pay. This is just taking you through. You have to put the period, of course, that you're filing for. And then you need to just list out the amounts that your sales amount, your use tax amount. The system is going to automatically, InTax will automatically compute the tax for you and your collection fee. So it's going to come up with the figure that you need to pay. Then you'll just hit you should get a confirmation. Always make sure that you have this information available when you're calling us to try to verify a return or a payment. There is a DLN, which is a document locator number. There is a PLN, which is the payment locator number. If you do them together, they're the same number. So if you have to call us, you can go into your filing and payment history, or filing or payment history, and pull that number. That helps us track your information much easier. We can find it for you, just easier for us if you have that information available. So making a payment in InTax, it's the same thing. You filed, it's prompted you, hey, you filed, do you want to make a payment now? Well, absolutely, I want to make a payment. You can either make a payment right then, the day you file. You can schedule out a payment. Just make sure if you schedule out a payment that you're scheduling it within the time frame and not after the due date, so you don't get penalty and interest for paying after the due date, and your collection allowance disallowed. You can always change your payment information. You're not locked into whatever account that you originally put in. There is an EFT registration tab that you can click on, so at any time you can change that payment information. And then you're going to get this confirmation. Once you submit, you're going to get confirmation, hey, yep, everything went through. It's going to give you the PLN. You do not have to print this. Some people like to print this because they're like me, I like paper. I don't want it on the computer. I want a piece of paper in my hand. But everything is maintained in your InTax account in either filing history for your filing or payment history for your payments. And this is just showing you the payment confirmation. It will, if you make a payment, it is always going to ask you, hey, do you want to file a return if you've already filed it? It's just something that comes up. So you don't have to file another return. Just be aware that you're always going to get the option to file a return when you make a payment, even though you've already filed it. Additional resources, we do have our new and small business education center online. We do have FAQs on our website. Our website is actually pretty extensive. So if you have any questions, that is going to be the method that I would suggest first. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. We are sometimes kind of hard to get a hold of, but we do have the option to call you back if you choose that option. Just be aware of that. There's subscriptions. Subscribe to the website for specific topics, and you can receive emails, which we do, like I said, we do always send out those reminders to the email address that you registered in InTax. So if you forget to file a couple days before the due date, we're going to send you a reminder. Right before the due date, we're going to send you a reminder. And even after the due date, if you still haven't filed, we're going to send you that reminder that says, hey, you haven't filed yet. File. Contact us. This is where you're going to get a hold of my crew. We do have a couple different numbers for business tax and in-tax. Either one of those numbers will get you to somebody who can answer both. We have an electronic funds transfer section as well. If you have to do EFT payments, that would be the folks that you would talk to. And I want to talk about the in-tax message center in detail just a little bit. The in-tax message center is handled in a turnaround time. We try 24 to 48 hours. So if you made a mistake and you need it fixed, all you need to do is send a detailed message. It doesn't have to be a novel or a small novella. It just needs to say, I paid my June sales tax in the amount of $250, and it should really have been July's sales tax. Transfer the payment. We will transfer the return and payment. We will transfer the return, we will transfer the payment, and you will get an email, usually within 24 to 48 hours, stating all is well. You will be able to, in about 24 to 48 hours after that, go into your own in-tax account and see we did exactly what we said that we were going to do. So you can follow up on all of this as well. If your address has changed, because we do not change addresses over the phone, if your location address has changed, absolutely send us a message via InTax. We will get that changed and get your new retail merchant certificate sent out to you within about 24 to 48 hours. Usually takes about 7 to 10 days for mailing, but we will get that information updated and get everything out to you. We have a Facebook page. You can like us on Facebook, and we've got a Twitter account, and we love feedback. Please, if there's things that we do well, we'd love to know that. If there's things that we're doing not so well, then we need to know that too. So, not the most interesting subject, I get it, but is there any questions that I can answer for anybody on anything I went over, or really anything that you had? Really? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you elaborate on the certificates that are necessary for exemption for purchase of vehicles? The reason I ask is because we recently had our sheriff's sale, and there were a few purchasers who tried to give us their retail merchant certificate, and they claimed that that was proof that they're exempt from having to pay sales tax. So
Yeah.
if you could elaborate on that.
Sure. If they are, first of all, it has to be a dealer, okay? A dealer is exempt. So there are forms out on the website. I'm not going to be able to get into it. ST108E is the form that is for exempt purchases, sales of exempt purchases. If they do not qualify for, and all the exemptions are on the back of that form. If they do not qualify for that exemption, then they cannot be exempt. And a retail merchant certificate is not an exemption certificate. You can't go in and flash your retail merchant certificate for exempt purposes. You have to complete the form, because once again, you're signing that yes, you are allowed to buy this item exempt. Does that make sense? Okay, there is a lot of information out on our website regarding that too. So if you have any questions after you look at that information, you're more than welcome to contact us if you need any more clarification on that. What else? Anything else? Oh, you're an easy crowd. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.